Chapter 19, in which Kitty finds a liking to Gifford Rogers. 8 hours after leaving Moimo Harbor, the Maybelle reached the midst of the North Sea. Kitty makes her way to the mess for lunch. If she was going to live here for 8 days, she was going to try to meet as many of the sailors as she could. Though some of the crewmen had given her doubtful looks, a smile and a wave had cleared their faces. These were rough men, and she knew she had to protect herself, either by intimidating them through her strength or using kokoro on them, but that would risk revealing her identity. Underneath the bridge, she enters the mess through the watertight door. Yellow light illuminated the interior, but it was filled with music from the Steinway, with the young cabin boy on the keys. Through her ears, she can hear him swing into "With Cat-Like Tread," the fingers over the keys as he sang. With cat-like tread, upon our prey we steal, in silence dread, a cautious way we feel, no sound at all, we never speak a word, a fly's footfall will be distinctly heard. Come, friends who plow the sea, truce to navigation, take another station, let's vary piracy with a little burglary. She did find him handsome, with his brown hair and matching eyes, dressed in his university blazer, white short-sleeved dress shirt, beige pants with a belt, dress socks, and black dress shoes. And when she hear him play, she resists the urge to sway her hips to the beat. Lying on the top of the Steinway was a cat with a black and white coat and green eyes. Sitting by the table with Bugsy, Isaac, and the Bell brothers, while eating a supper of meat cooked up by Hector, Fred saw her and called, "Oh, good to see you, Kitty. Come over here." All of the sailors looked up, but no one said a word. Even the cabin boy stops playing with cat-like tread and looked at her. However, he was ordered to continue with a gesture from Fred. "Let me introduce you to some of the crew," he said, before introducing some of the crew. "This is Isaac Gardner, veteran fisherman, and serving the food was Hector Marin. The 2 lookouts, Oliver and Nick." She went forward and shook their hands. Isaac is a no-nonsense up-and-comer with a tattoo on his right arm and a pompous blonde mullet on his head, willing to fight tooth and nail to make a living in Moimo Harbor. He was getting up there in age, but still capable to be a worthy fisherman. Hector was a man with tan skin from Spain, a bowl-shaped haircut, and a matching mustache, dressed in his white shirt, blue jeans, and black shoes. 25-year-old Oliver and 21-year-old Nicholas were happy-go-lucky Irishmen. Both had red hair and freckles, inherited from their family. "Delighted to meet you, ma'am," Isaac said. "Same as me too, senora," Hector said. "You want any beef stew? Nice and hot right now. Just don't burn your tongue." Kitty shook her head.
"I don't feel like I'm hungry."
"Well, you have to eat something, senora," Hector stated. "Didn't you hear what she said?" Fred asked. "Oh, I see," Hector said. "She's not planning to starve for the rest of the trip, is she?"
"Tu comida no es buena para mí, Hector,"
she said. "My food is no good, senora?" Hector asked. "My food is no good? You'd be sorry, because I wouldn't think you'll last 8 days without taking a single bite." He turns away in a huff. "Never mind him, Kitty," Fred said. "He really is a good man. With our cabin boy on the piano, I can tell that you'll have yourself some good times in here." She glanced back to the cabin boy on his Steinway. Her ears perk up at the notes. He had his head on the music rack, so focused that he hadn't bothered to look back, unaware that she was looking at him.
"That music,"
she said, all sweetness and light. The way she was beaming, and the touch of quiet awe in her voice, confused the heck out of Fred for a few seconds. Then he saw the way she looked at the Steinway, the admiration in her eyes, and he put the pieces together.
"Hello there,"
she said to the cabin boy, which makes him stop playing and glance at her. "Can I help you?" he said.
That music!
She managed to say. The cabin boy gave her a bewildered smile. Oh, you like it? He asked. It's from the Pirates of Penzance by Gifford and Sullivan, a comic opera written in 1879.
Who are they?
You haven't heard of Gifford and Sullivan? Ever even heard of HMS Pinafore? The Mikado? The Gondoliers? Fred steps in. I don't think she'd ever even heard of this kind of music before. Or operas. Or Gifford and Sullivan.
He does have a point. I'm just new here,
Kitty said to the cabin boy, and looks at the letter K on the blazer.
What does a K stand for?
The K stands for Kerrigan, as in Kerrigan University, the cabin boy said. It's a school I currently attend back home. Everybody thinks it stands for Kingston, but no, it actually stands for Kerrigan. I'm going to be spending my summer vacation at Morimo.
Do you have a name?
You can call me Giff. Giff Rogers. Gifford is the family name. My mother back home said one of us had to be called Gifford. It means gift of bravery.
And do you think you're brave?
That depends. Then he looks up at the cat on Steinway. And this is my bicolor cat, Aloysius, he introduced his cat. I named him after the French poet, Aloysius Bertrand. She reached a hand and felt the cat's fur. The cat lets out a friendly purr. Giff can't help but chuckle. I can tell you and him are going to be the best of friends.
So do you know any music?
She asked. I used to play in a tennis team back at Kerrigan, but I dropped out and got enrolled into a music class instead. So would you like to hear me play? Kitty felt her face flushed as she quickly nodded and sat next to him.
What are you going to play?
She asked. How about a more fitting tune? He asked. He begins playing the piano while singing, There's a time in each year that we always hold dear, good old summertime, with the birds and the trees and sweet scented breezes, good old summertime. When your day's work is over, then you are in clover, and life is one beautiful rhyme. No trouble annoying, each one is enjoying the good old summertime. In the good old summertime. In the good old summertime. Strolling through the shady lanes with your baby mine. You hold her hand and she holds yours, and that's a very good sign that she's your Tootsie Wootsie in the good old summertime. As he plays, a few seamen who were seated on the table clapped. That made Kitty smile. What do you think? He asked. After all, it's summer. I couldn't wait to go back to school this fall, sophomore year. Fred can't help but smile and heads out on deck. Kitty saw him leave and decides to go after him. She got up and asked,
Will I ever see you again?
Any time, Giff said. You'll find me in Aloysius in my cabin. That's underneath the bridge.
All right, but call me Kitty.
Then she heads out on deck. Giff can hear Isaac say, Looks like you got yourself a sweetheart. Good, Giff said. I guess that means someone did like my talent in music. Isaac can't help but laugh. Against old judgment, I'm beginning to like this girl too. Because she's worldly and mysterious? Boy, I wouldn't even compare to all the performers in the Valand. Fred slipped into the wheelhouse, closing the door softly. Then he stares ahead through the front windows, his attention fixed upon the outside world. The sun begins to lower slightly. He finds Otis standing next to one of the Chadburns. Interested in seeing the North Sea from here as well, Miss McGinty? Fred asked. This grizzly, elderly man of 71 felt tired and storm-leathered, with his left leg ached, but he simply replied, Aye, Captain. Fred can tell that Otis seemed too old to remain in service, and is wanting to resign peacefully. So he placed a hand on his shoulder, easing him. 40 years seems so long, mate, Otis said. Just one more expedition, and you'll be free, Fred said calmly. Oh yes, Fred suppressed a smile. With this ship idle, I felt relieved never touching that wheel. Come next Thursday, I'll never have to face the open sea again. I get it. You enjoy the view of the sea while it lasts. I'm pretty sure you'll miss it. Miss it. Miss it. Nonsense. Remaining at sea is a sadness. The sea is only a place. Morimo Harbor will forever be my place. What is it like? Fred asked. Just between you and me, Fred. For 40 years at sea, sometimes being on a ship is like being a prison, like a common criminal, with the expectation of drowning. And what will you be doing when you get back? I like to spend a little time with my wife and daughter, Otis stated, pulling out a daguerreotype case and hands it to Fred. He opens it to find a picture of a smiling elderly woman in a floral dress, and a picture of a teenage girl in a white dress. Fred can't help but smile. I'll see that you do, he said. Nice to have you off with a vote of confidence in your ears. He closed the daguerreotype and hands it back to Otis before heading out and up to the bridge, where he finds Kozlov smoking his pipe behind the bulwark. Can I tempt you with a smoke, comrade? Kozlov asked. Why not? Fred said. Kozlov pulls out a packet of Bellamorcanal cigarettes from his pocket. Take one. Something special from the tobacco factories of Leningrad. It was a gift from my cousin Anna last month. And to think she's the one urging me to quit. Fred took out a cigarette from the packet and puts it between his lips before he lights it with a match. Perfectly clear out there, isn't it? With the blue sky and the calm sea, he asked. I rarely think so, comrade. Especially when superstitious notions are involved, Kozlov stated. No matter which way you look at it, let me tell you, expect anything strange happening on this trip. Anything uneasy. That's a load of crock. I'm different from anyone else in Morimo, because I seldom believe in such things. Without for your ship full of those sailors, comrade, I'm sorry to get the feeling that this is a bad time to fish. I don't care if we didn't set sail on a Friday. You brought a woman on board, and that is bad enough. Fred shook his head. We'll just see about that. He heads inside, making his way to the wireless cabin. He found Larry sitting by the old Marconi transmitter. Mr. Barnes, give me a weather report, Fred ordered. What are the conditions for the week? CGKS is confirming it right now, Larry said. He listens carefully, then starts writing down what he hears. We'll be having calm seas and clear skies. Temperatures will be about 73 degrees. All week? All week. Perfect weather! Fred gave a sharp exclamation. It seems to me that things are going so well, even with a woman on board. The gods must be generous to us. Then he began singing, Just a little love, a little kiss. Does that mean we should get started right away? Larry asked. Absolutely, Fred said, and continued singing. Just an hour that holds a world of bliss. Right then, Larry said. I do hope things are going to be so well, too. Oh, Mr. Barnes, Fred said. It's going to take more than sincerity to get rich from hard work in Morimo. You can bet your life. Then he continued singing. Eyes that tremble like the stars above me. However, I can't help but feel concerned, Larry said. About what? Fred asked. If I recall, some of the seamen who work at Morimo are superstitious. Well, I should be too. Then you must be as cracked as them, and half of those on board this ship. Especially if you're considered a sociologist. Always people wondering how the world works. It defines who we are and what we do. You really are a hard case when it comes to working for me. It'll be another hour before we prepare the net. There's a lot of money just swimming out there. As your captain, we're gonna get it all. I've been to sea for 30 years. It's kind of a habit. But Mr. Kozlov had told me that this was a bad time to fish. But I do not agree. What's out there to prevent me from fishing this time? How should I know? Larry murmured. Then Fred continues singing. And the little wood that says you love me. He turns around and finds Kitty standing in front of him. What are you doing here? He said.
Hopefully, there's something I can do on your ship,
she said. He nodded. Come to think of it, there is. Just in time, too. He takes her to the deck, while some of the crew prepare the huge net on a crane that was attached to the mast. All right, he said. For the next 8 days, until we get back to Moimo, we'll be opening these front hatches.
You think so?
She asked. Absolutely. Fishing hold is 746 cubic meters. This ship can hold a capacity of 1,100 worth of fish.
You think we'll be filling this up?
That depends.
I guess it means that I understand I have you to thank for the opportunity.
They slowly opened the hatch above the fishing hold. She immediately gagged at the smell. Oh, don't worry about it, Kitty, he stated. You'll get used to the smell, unless you want some aftershave for you to smell instead. One sailor flips the switch, and the crane moves to the right. The net gets lowered into the water. Once it was submerged, the crew scattered on deck.
So what happens now?
She asked. Now we wait for a school of pelagic fish to take the bait, Fred said. It may take a while, Kitty. Already there's a slight chance in the wind. We may go north by northwest. She stood by the rail, looking out over the North Sea. Around her, there are myriads of sounds competing with each other. The slap of the water against the bow, the creak of the weathered hull, the whistle of the wind, the ping of the wires against the mast. What do you think of your first day so far? Fred asked.
I don't know what to think,
she stated.
What I understand more than anything else are the stares toward me.
It'll be a small price to pay, no doubt, when you're miles from Kodono and nothing but the North Sea all around. I'm sure you have something else to do rather than see if there's a school of fish coming to our trap. Like hanging out with that cabin boy, for example. I tell you, he really is a true rascal, especially with girls. That's what I heard when he told me about himself. She turned with a glance.
Giff!
He leaned closer and said, Yes. You have an interest in his music, do you?
Of course I do. It's unlike any music I ever heard. My friends introduced me to the music in this world. Without music, life would be a mistake.
Your friends introduced you to the music we have?
The Pratchett's.
Fred remained still. What are they like?
The Pratchett's have the children, Todd and Audrey. Those two are responsible for making me feel right at home. Of course, that depends if I am welcomed by everyone. You let me know if you need me for anything.
She heads off and calls out to Giff. He immediately heads out on deck, carrying Aloysius. What do you want, Kitty? He asked.
I think it's best if I could spend time with you while the net is being submerged, she said.
Of course you can. In fact, I should like to know you more, where you come from and what not. She can't help but giggle.
Oh, no. You don't want to know where I come from. I don't think you'll ever believe that. However, you could say that I always have a feline grace, Giff. A good person. Maybe the only good person you'll ever know.
He led her to his cabin, located at the port side of the ship on the fourth door on the back facing the bulwark. Inside, there was a bed, a heater, a desk, a cardboard box with a towel inside, and a wardrobe. A bridal leather briefcase is hung up on one of the wall hooks. Underneath the desk was a wooden cat carrier with holes on the sides and a grating door on the front. It seemed to Kitty that this cabin was a soft luxury, the sensation of gaiety, a feeling of homeliness compared to what was inside the forecastle.
"It does make me wonder if I could just sleep here,"
she stated. "What about the forecastle?" he asked. "You don't like sleeping with a bunch of men?"
"It does make me assailable. I really am the only female on board this ship."
"I'll go ask the captain if you want. Get you some blankets." She picked up the briefcase and opened it. Inside, there were several music sheets. "Here," he said, gently taking the briefcase away from her. Walking to the desk, he flips the briefcase over, letting the sheets slide out. "Now, what did I tell you, Kitty?" he asked, smiling, as she walks over and looks down at the sheets. "And there are some of the songs I know."
"Really?"
she asked. "A very fine compilation, Kitty. I have chosen what played during this expedition. Little Brown Jug, Bedelia, The Glowworm, Sweet Adeline, A Bird in a Gilded Cage, Sheik of Araby, Anchors Away, and Alexander's Ragtime Band. Oh, you beautiful doll. I'm always chasing rainbows."
"They all sound good.
Expect to hear some of them during this expedition."
But what about this one?"
she asked, pointing at a music sheet. On the front cover was a picture of a cat meowing with the words, "Meow," by Mel B. Kaufman. "Oh, this one?" he asked. "Is that what you want? Maybe I'll play it sometime later." She nodded and asked,
"What are you going to do when you get back?"
"I got my whole life ahead of me. I have a long way to go before I go back to school for the fall semester. When I graduate, my parents expect me to move to London and become a pianist. That means leaving everything that makes Kadono fun behind. Of course, that isn't the case for me."
"London?"
Kitty said slowly. She pronounced the name as London.
"What is London like?"
"Clearly you haven't heard of it," he said. "And it's pronounced London. London was the largest city in England, just 1,038 kilometers southwest from Kadono. They have a clock tower like Kadono, the Tower of London, where the little princes were, Buckingham Palace, where the royal family lived, Westminster Abbey, St. Paul's Cathedral, and London Bridge. Whatever you do, don't ever expect it to fall down."
"Oh!"
she exclaimed.
"Let's hope not. I like to go to London."
"I've already told you." He quickly shook his head. "Oh, forget it. Stupid pipe dream. I don't want to go there when I graduate."
"What's wrong with it?"
"There's nothing wrong with London, but clearly I'm not interested in going there. Can't even stand the weather either."
"So where will you be going instead?"
"On to the other side of the world, Kitty. To Empire City. Out there, you'll find tall buildings, a big urban park, museums, music halls, a great amusement park by the beach, and more recently, a big airship that is set to fly across the Atlantic early this June. Yeah, that's where I'm going."
"What will you do when you get to Empire City?"
"I might go into a bit of business. You ever hear this chap named Cole Porter? He recently did a musical last year on Broadway. Calls it Anything Goes. It's a hit. It's about a stowaway falling in love with a girl on an ocean liner. There's going to be a performance in West End this June. Anyway, I'm thinking more about performing on Broadway, to be a part of it. Might have my name in a marquee next to Ethel Merman."
"Well, you must work for it and make it happen."
"I have a long way to go,"
"How romantic you are, Giff,"
she said, looking longingly with her pink eyes. "Oh, am I?" he asked.
"I think so. I believe it's because of your sole talent given by the gods. I'm sure people will expect better from you."
"What about you? You could be on Broadway. I bet you could be the next Ethel Merman or Alice Faye."
"I'd be happy to sing in front of an audience. However, I'm not interested in Broadway, Giff.
"What are you interested in?"
I want to do good in this world. Do great things. Things that are even unheard of."
"Oh, yeah? Like what?" Fred burst into the room. "It won't be long now, Kitty. It's now being hoisted up. I'm betting there's 100 of them."
100?
Kitty asked. He nodded, smiling. "I can tell we're off to a good start today. I'll have the men assemble the crates and have someone to keep..." Suddenly, the boat lurches to starboard. They immediately get knocked off their feet and hurled to the wall, while the sheets slide off the desk.